Mike's Daily Podcast.
FF episode 1383. 1383, and it's Mike Matthews broadcasting from Café Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont. Today, John Deere, the engineer, Floyd the Floorman, Chely Shoehart will be stopping by. We will have the segment, The Wow That's Wild Files, with some stories that will make you go, wow. And now, I'd like to say this.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I work with someone that has an interesting way with dealing
Mike's Daily Podcast.
with dealing with that little thing that we call crisis and the stuff that you would say I miss those old TV shows like Greatest American Hero. That was a binge watching show on Decades recently. Remember that? Believe it or not,
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I'm walking on air. And Connie Selica was in it. John Tesh's wife.
Mike's
So beautiful.
Daily
You know, also,
Podcast.
Stephen Collins' wife was in that.
Yeah!
Stephen Collins was found with being a pedophile. But I once met him years ago. I was on Sunset Boulevard with some friends. We were walking to their gig. They were part of a band. And we see Stephen Collins, and we start talking to him. He seemed very nice. And I said to him, hey, I remember your show, Tales of the Gold Monkey. Look who just walked in. And he goes, oh, yeah, that was my first big show, and that's where I met my wife. And I looked it up on Wikipedia recently, and it's true, because that woman, who I can't remember her name, that actress, she was blonde. She was on The Greatest American Hero. Where am I going with this? Look who walked in. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, Kid Jump Supervisor. They should really do a new version of Greatest American Hero. Yeah, they should. Look who else walked in. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Yes, it would be a great show. Ant-Man kind of covered that territory. Ant-Man, that's right. Because he gets a suit, and then he doesn't know what to do with it, and he puts it on, and it has superpowers. That's sort of what Greatest American Hero was. Shocking. So this person that I work with, she goes nuts. She has a whirlpool of crazy when something doesn't go exactly the way she wants it to.
And here's today's podcast picture.
It's you, John Deere. What, I'm the one that has the whirlpool of crazy? No, not you, but you're in the podcast picture. Awesome. I can't wait to see it. Yes, I can't wait to draw it. Hasn't been drawn yet. But she once told me that when she goes she went into a supermarket one time and she had one of these coupons that said, hey, you can get with this coupon a dozen donuts for free. And she came in and she said, hey, I want my dozen donuts. Here's my coupon. And they go, oh, well, we're all out of donuts. And she goes, that's not my problem. Just like that. And I said, that's what you said? And she said, yeah. I said, that's not my problem. And they ended up giving her like a dozen bagels or something. So I thought to myself, if I were working at that supermarket and somebody was yelling at me, that's not my problem, and I would be like, you know what, it is, because you want donuts and we don't have them. So you got to come up with you either got to come back another day to make this work. It's like, okay, Safeway has their $5 Fridays. If you walk in and say, hey, how come this isn't $5? Well, it's on $5 Friday. That's not my problem. It doesn't work there, does it? So, I don't know. I think some people just have this entitled mentality that, you know, I have to, everything that I want, I should get because I'm the customer. The customer's always right. Well, that goes only so far. There's the little thing called logistics. Not to get into logistics. All right, let's get into logistics. Today, I was trying to get out of my house on time, and my stupid toilet was... That's what Mike does on this podcast. He talks about his dang toilet. The darn toilet would not, the water wasn't staying in the bowl. I've got a leak in the little the plug thingy-majig that keeps the water out of going into the bowl. I'm saying the tank is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I gotta fix that when I get home today. I'm excited about that. Anyway. Café Anyway.
Anyway.
And if you didn't like any of the beginning of the show, well...
Excuse me!
Who is that obnoxious guy? You know, Kim Jong-un Moss Chocolate Bonbon Fatty McFat Stick in Korea, speaking of North Korea, speaking of annoying guys, I found it interesting that ICBM missile he launched it on the 4th of July. And meanwhile, in Podcastro Valley on the 4th of July, I saw several people launching their own little missiles. So, I don't know. There was a lot of missiles being launched that day. Just food for thought. Or I don't know if that was a thought. But I did see on the 4th of July a coyote. When all the stuff was blowing up in the skies, a coyote ran across the street right in front of me. And I thought, wow. See, it does bug dogs' ears. And you need to be careful. But that's crazy. I'm not going to give this... I do have a little story about the whole North Korea thing. And Kim Jong-un Moss Chocolate Bonbon Fatty McFadden Stick. Because it is the big news. And Trump in Poland is big news. And we'll get to all that. Oh. Excuse me.
Excuse!
Alright. Yeah, that's okay. Hey. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com is a wonderful website full of all kinds of fascinating things, like, well, the podcast picture and other stuff, past shows. And there's this thing called the Amazon link. If you're going to buy anything on Amazon, click on that, buy whatever it is you're going to buy, and that helps us out, makes us happy people. There's also the PayPal. You can click on that and help us out that way, too. It's wonderful. All right, I think I've plugged that really well. Hey, let's get to the segment called...
The Wow, That's Wild! Files!
Yeah. Yeah. You ready, Mike?
Well, Trump warned North Korea today that he's considering some pretty severe things in response to the isolated nation's unprecedented launch of a missile capable of reaching the U.S. He called on all nations to confront the North's very, very bad behavior. He likes the word very. Trump, in his first public comment since North Korea tested their intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time. These are the first comments. He declined to offer specifics about what a U.S. response might entail, though he called it a threat and said the U.S. would confront it very strongly. He said it wasn't certain he'd follow through on the severe steps he was weighing, adding that he does, quote, not draw red lines. This, according to the Associated Press, and that also a reference to Obama, who said that about Syria. And the red line, he was talking about that.
Washington's made things worse.
The U.S. has been considering a range of possible sanctions, economic measures, and other steps in response to Pyongyang, North Korea. The test of an ICBM marked a major technological advancement for North Korea. Now, meanwhile, Trump said Russia likely hacked, but nobody knows for sure, on the eve of his first meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. His first ever meeting, my friend. And you know what he thinks about Russia.
I say it's better to get along with Russia than not.
Trump, however, questioned the veracity of American intelligence about foreign meddling in the U.S. election, arguing that Russia wasn't the only country that may have appeared. Nobody knows for sure, he said. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. CNN doesn't know. I hate CNN, by the way. CNN, I have one word for you, and it is...
busted eardrums.
That took a while to do, sorry. opening his second overseas trip as president, Trump also warned North Korea that he's considering some pretty severe things. As U.S. investigations into Russia's meddling moved ahead, Trump is under intense scrutiny for how he handles his first face-to-face session with Putin. It should be very interesting. U.S. intelligence officials say the unpredictable Russian leader ordered interference in the election that brought Trump to the White House. Trump and Putin also plan to sit down on Friday, tomorrow, in Hamburg, Germany, where the girl that says Mike's Daily Podcast at the beginning of every show, my cousin, she lives there in Hamburg. So this is on the sidelines of an international summit going on there. By the way, Hamburg is a very liberal city and very anti-Trump. And there will be protests, but in Germany, since they are so organized, every little thing has to be planned ahead of time. They are going to, if you wanted to protest, you have to get a permit from the government. And then you have to dance around in lederhosen, and it's so much fun. Next story is the minimum wage in Missouri. The Missouri is going to drop. Cities all over the U.S. have been boosting their minimum wage. It's up to $15 an hour in Seattle. Let's move. But it's going the opposite direction in St. Louis. Along with the rising sales tax and meat prices, a minimum wage hike to $10 an hour 2 months ago made it too expensive to open for a family-owned restaurant in downtown St. Louis. In this story by CBS News, he's cut back from 5 to 2 days a week for lunch as hamburgers are smaller. Wah, wah. Well, the Missouri Governor Eric Greeton says the minimum wage will return to $7.70 an hour. $10 an hour was a mistake, he said. Hey, guess who's not moving to Missouri? And finally, if you've cruised around Amazon, eBay, and many other popular websites, you may have noticed an unusual number of images have been removed from listings. In their place, an image asking the user to upgrade to a $400 account in order to enable third-party hosting. That's because Photobucket, a photo-sharing service, quietly changed its terms of service, demanding a yearly fee from users who want to post to other sites. Customers have lashed out, accusing the company of charging a ransom. Is this the same as ransomware? I don't. Photobucket announced last week in a blog post that it was changing its terms of service. However, the post didn't mention the third-party hosting change. In order for users to find out, they would have to have clicked the link and read the fine print. Many users didn't find out until they noticed their images were no longer showing up in their third-party pages. That's not fair. No podcast pictures? What's going on? I've been using your site for 10 plus years and you gave me zero notice. You screwed 178 of my eBay listings. You are extortionists, said one Twitter user. Well put. Photobucket's team did not immediately respond to this story by NBC, which has this jingle. Everything I want. Every sound effect I want, by the way. Whenever I look over to my computer screen, I go, it's not there. Where's the sound effect? And I have to scroll through a bunch of stuff. That's why it's taking me forever to get to the sound effect, but there we go. However, in the July 1st tweet, thank you, the company wrote, "Thank you for all your recent feedback and questions. We are trying our best to respond quickly, and thank you for your patience." Smiley face. All right. Well, that's about it for the news as we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley. Stupid Photobucket. I had a wonderful day yesterday. I walked my dog, Basil the Boxer, at Fairmont Ridge. And we're kind of taking it easy. He had a bit of a slip and a fall on Monday when we went to the Hayward Regional Shoreline and walked around there. But it was a beautiful day. The clouds were kind of coming over the peninsula yet again, as I was talking about that last show, and it looked like whipped cream coming over the mountains. I love that in the Bay Area. Of course, the rest of the sky was blue and clear. It was clear over in the East Bay. That's why the East Bay rocks. But it was a wonderful day, and I feel like today might be another one. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to be optimistic about the toilet. I'm going to be optimistic about logistics in your life, that it all works out. And that you find love. If you don't find love, find a delicious donut. Because donuts are good. As Homer once said, beer. Wait, I didn't want that one. Nothing's going my way.
Go!
Here we go.
Donuts.
I think we should end it there, because next show it's going to be Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Wonderful.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!